Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at hip mobility, and this is going to be a beginner routine. So if you spend a lot of time sitting down and you feel your hips are really tight and you will want to loosen them up a little bit and get more movement in your hip region, then this follow along is for you. You're going to need a mat if you wish to use one, and that's about it. Let's get right into it. So we're starting with our feet shoulder width apart, a nice soft bend in the knees, and you're shifting your weight from one side to the other. Try and feel the point where your center of mass and the bulk of your weight is sitting perfectly atop the point of contact. We're going to stop over on this side, and you should feel, like I said, the weight right above the point of contact, and you should be able to peel the other foot off the floor gently. And swap sides. Wait for the center of mass to feel perfectly stacked, and then gently peel that foot off. We're going to go again one more time on each side. Final one. And we're going to switch back to this side. The only difference this time is we're going to drag and slide this leg all the way around. See if you can touch the floor and then bring it back. Shift the weight, lift the foot, bring it all the way around, find a bit of balance, use your arms for balance, tap. And we're going to repeat one more time on each side. Touch, bring the leg back round, stack your weight, lift the foot, swing it round, touch, and finish. Next up, we're going to swing back and forwards, lifting the toes and the heels off the floor as we shift our weight forward and backwards. And we're going to come to a stop. Now, soft bend in the knees and lift the arms up. Take a big in breath. Move the hands and the fingers here. And out breath, bring the elbows in. Start to lean back. Bring your chin to your chest. And roll all the way down into a crouch or a squat. Crouch is with the heels off the floor, and your flat foot squat is obviously with your feet flat on the floor. From here, you're going to gently lift your hips, keep a soft bend in the knees, keep your ribs connected to your thighs, and just shake your head out. No tension in the shoulders or the neck. Shake your head no. Shake your head yes. And lower the hips back down. As soon as you hit the bottom, you're going to roll up. Lift the hips, keep the knees bent here, tuck the pelvis under, and roll your way through the spine into the arm lift. Big in breath. And breathe out. Elbows in, lean back, chin to chest. And roll all the way down. Once again into your crouch or squat. Lift the hips, ribs connected to the thighs. Keep the knees nice and bent and soft. No tension in the neck or shoulders. Shake your head, shake your shoulders, and drop back down. As soon as you hit bottom, you roll up. And in breath, lift the arms. This time, when we get to the top, we're going to open out into a wide squat. Keep your feet nice and wide. Try and actively push those knees out using the side of the bum muscles, and keep your hips nice and low. Imagine you had a broomstick here on your thighs. You're trying to avoid it rolling off. So nice and low. And just sway side to side. Try and straighten the leg here. And we're going to do two more. 1, 2, and we're gonna sink down onto one leg into a crouch here, so your heel should be off the floor and you should be sitting here on your heel in a crouching position. If possible, remove your hands and find a bit of balance. Keeping the hips nice and low and the head low, leading with the head, we're going to swap sides. And once again, we're on a crouch, so the heel is off the floor here and we're sitting down on that heel. If this position feels fine for you, no knee problems, remove your hands, find a bit of balance. Keep the head low, swap sides. And now we're going to be trying to roll forward and backwards, trying to get a little bit of movement into the ankle and seeing if we can get that foot flat on the floor. If you can get the foot flat on the floor, perfect. Just sit in your flat foot Cossack. If not, just keep rolling forward and backwards and demanding that range from your hips and ankles. We're going to repeat on the other side. Remember, I always say this, the body responds to the activity that you do. So if you do a whole load of sitting and a whole load of nothing, your body will essentially become good at doing nothing and it will lock up your ranges of motion. If you start to do these routines on a daily or weekly basis, demanding ranges from your joints, your body will soon understand and start to give you a little bit more mobility. Final one. Keep rolling. And we're going to go into a deep lunge. Make a good bit of space between your front foot and your front arm here so that you can just start to sink in between them. If you can, try and get your elbow to the floor, perhaps both elbows. If this position feels quite intense for you, you can pop that back knee down on the floor and just repeat the same sink. The other thing we want to do here is think about pushing this knee out, and you can roll your foot onto its side and start demanding a little bit of external rotation from that femur. This is going to pay dividends for your squat work. Find the lunge on the other side. You want to be spending roughly 30 seconds on each side, just lunging, just looking for a bit more depth and just mobilizing the whole of that hip socket and getting movement into that joint. Let's push the knees out here, rolling the foot over onto its side. Do this actively. What I mean by that is you're using the muscles in the side of your bum, your glute med, and all of the deep little muscles there to actively push that leg out. And let's reset to center. Hands go forward, jump the feet in, hip width apart, and just swivel the hips. Let's find a little bit of balance in our crouching position here. And just roll forward and backwards. Knees forward, knees back. If you can't get your feet flat on the floor here, it doesn't really matter. The mere fact that you are going through this and demanding this range from your body, if you do it for long enough, will have some effect on your physiology. Good. Let's place our hands behind us and we're going to go into a seated position. Let me adjust the camera so I can be nice and close. Lovely. So we have wider distance between our feet and we're going to go into some 90-90 swivels. So as you can see, one knee is internally rotating, the other one is externally rotating. I'm going to do about 6 of these on each side. You want to make sure on the internal rotation here that you don't start to lift your lumbar off the floor too much. Try to use those muscles, those adductors, to try and get the knee down without overcompensating at the lumbar. Good, straighten the legs, shake them out. And we're going to move on to an active variation of this 90-90. So swap over here onto one side and sit yourself up. If you cannot get a perfectly 90-degree angle here on the front leg and the back leg, it's not an ultimate necessity. So you can have a little bit of a more closed angle here. The important part is how you do this next bit. So from here, we want to hinge over at the hips. Think of getting your navel down towards the floor and think of avoiding rounding your back. However, it will be necessary on some level later, but you don't want to be immediately thinking of rounding. So think of hinging at the hip, get a little bit of depth here, put your hands over to one side. Now what I want you to think about is see if you can push this knee down into the floor as much as we can, and at the same time you're going to be thinking about lifting this foot off the floor. Now whether you are able to lift the foot off the floor or not, it doesn't really matter. What counts is the intention and the muscle activation that this attempt is going to require. And we're going to do this for 10 seconds. So you're going to do your first hinge, find your first position, hands out to the side. And with me starting now, we're going to push down and try and lift that front foot off the floor. 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax, breathe in and sink a little bit deeper into your front 90. And we're going to repeat going in now, and 10, 9. Pushing that knee down, trying to lift that foot off the floor as hard as you can, and rest. And breath, relax, try and sink into the stretch a little bit deeper. You should feel the side of your bum, your glute medius contracting heavily during the push down. And final one, in we go. 10, 7, 6, 3, 2, 1, and relax here. Just allow your whole body to relax and drop into this stretch. You can round your back here. Now, removing the hands off the floor and lifting yourself back up. And we're going to repeat on the other side. So set yourself up. It doesn't have to be a full 90 here. The important part is to hinge at the hip first. Don't overly round the back. And let's get into the knee push with foot lift. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In breath. Sink in a little bit deeper. And pushing down now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And final one, in we go. 10. Pushing that knee as hard into the floor as you can. And relax. Allow your body to drop forward and your back to round. Remove the hands and lift the body. Okay, moving on, we're going to be doing some hip joint rotations. So set yourself up here on all fours And you're going to make sure that your hips stay squared. So as we do the rotations, we don't want the hip to start turning like this. We want to keep the hips and the pelvis facing down towards the floor. Hands nice and wide so you've got a good base. And from here, you're going to lift your knee out to the side as high as possible. And then draw it back. And then in, and then reverse the motion out, and then bring it in. It counts as 1. We're going to go for 3. Push the knee out, bring it all the way up, and then see if you can get the knee here behind the other knee, and lift. Use your glute muscles here, and now again side of the bum, and final one, out, up, and internal rotation of the femur. You should feel your adductors here. If you get any cramps during this, it's not a bad sign at all. And time. Moving on, we're going to repeat this on the other side. 3 hip joint rotations. And we're going to be doing another 3 reps. So set yourself up, nice wide base on the hands. Make sure your hips don't start swiveling and turning. And we're going to be lifting the hip, the femur, using the glute muscles to bring that leg as far back as we can. See if we can get some hip extension here, and then bring the knee behind the other knee. You should feel your adductors, the inner thighs. Good. And again, out, up. See if you can extend that hip. Inner thighs now should be activating. Internally rotate the femur. And reverse. Final one. Up. Use your big bum muscles here to pull the leg back. You should feel a bit of opening in the hips right here. And time. Lovely. For the final section of our mobility video for today, we're going to put a little bit of everything we've done together into a sort of a movement flow that you can play with at home. So here is how it's going to go. You're going to take the opposite hand and place it in front of the opposite foot, and you're going to shift your weight over onto this leg. From here, you're going to step the foot behind and see if you can sink in to this step and reverse. Hand, opposite foot, balance, step, sink, come back. Hand, opposite foot, shift the weight, step the leg across, go into the depth, push back, and balance. And you can go a little bit quicker. And find a little bit of flow. A good rep count for this is to do 4 on each side for a total of 8, and then repeat this 3 times. if you are that way inclined and you love a good structure and some sets and reps, that's a good way to break it down. Alternatively, you're just going to play with this pattern. Before we finish, I would like to add one layer of complexity to this pattern, and then you can pick which suits you best right now. So the start's going to be exactly the same. The only difference is after this step, you're going to do a pivot, face the other way. Then you're going to pivot back and reverse. So hand, step, pivot, and then here you're going to pivot and step. Another slightly more advanced layer would be to do the pivot and the steps with no hands. So here, no hands, pivot, pivot again, no hands, and step. And this variation will require a lot more control and a little bit more strength in the legs. It will require you to be more active with your range of motion. If you find that to be quite difficult, just build up, use the hands, use the different layers. And again, like I said, you can structure this 4 on each side times 3, or you can just play with it at your own leisure. You can use this for a warm-up, you can use this as a cool-down, you can just do 2-3 reps in the middle of your day just to get a little bit of movement going. Doesn't have to be in a structured session. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you have enjoyed today's hip mobility video, and I will be uploading a lot more content like this on my social media. Yeah, I will see you on the next one. Enjoy.